Hello, students. Good morning to all of you. I hope you will be fine at home. I welcome you all in this lecture of Electrical Machine 1. Subject code is W205, Unit 5th, 4th is running on. The topic which we are going to cover it, that is a DC machine motoring and generation is the main topic, and the subtopic is types of losses and efficiency. So this electrical machine one is an important subject, and it totally deals with the two parts. One is the rotating, another one is the non-rotating. If I am talking about the rotating machines, so we having two types of rotating machines. One is the DC generator, another one is the DC motor. And if we talk about DC generator, the DC generator works on the principle of Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. And if I am talking about the DC motor, it is basically work on the Faraday law. It's basically work on the electromagnetic interaction. So basically, if I'm talking about the non-rotating machine, though it is a transformer, and transformer is a electromagnetic static electromagnetic device which is used to transfer the one form of energy, or we can say the energy from one circuit to the another circuit without changing its frequency. So I hope you understand about the working. Basically, we are going through to though you understand about the whole thing. And if I'm talking about the basically, you can say what if I'm talking about the DC machines, they comes in the rotating part, and if I'm talking about the DC machine part, that is transformer, is basically a non-rotating machine, and it deals with the AC, not with the DC. So we give AC to it, then it will give you the output in a transformer. And if I'm talking about the DC, so it basically gives you DC in the output, and basically if I'm talking about the DC machines, so they comes in the category of rotating machines. So I hope you understand. Now starting from the unit number 1, basically we deals with the magnetic circuit. Now if I'm talking about the magnetic circuit, though my dear student, magnetic circuit is basically the we can say that force of attraction and repulsion we found in in a element that is known as magnet. And if I'm talking about the magnet are of two types. One is the permanent magnet, another one is the electromagnet. Permanent magnet always persists a magnetic field, but if I'm talking about the electromagnet totally depends on the electrical supply which we give into which we basically flowing in it. Means current is flowing in it. So what happens when we give current to the coil? As per the Biot-Savart law, we'll find a magnetic field surround that coil. So we can say, if I'm telling about the electromagnetic thing, that is the basic phenomena or basic principle is the Biot-Savart law. Biot and Savart basically are the two scientists or the two physicists who invented together a thing that if we give supply to the coil, then we found in a surround a magnetic field. That is, we can say, that is the Biot-Savart law. So if I'm talking about the basic that the Biot-Savart law, then in Biot-Savart law we need a coil, because in a coil if we flow the current, the current meet with the turns of that coil. If it meet with the turns of that coil, it means we are getting an I, and I. That what we are getting, an I. Okay, so N will be there and I will be there. So N I we having the both Ni. Okay, so Ni is the basically what, N is the turns of coil and I is the current of coil. So ampere is the unit of current, and the turns are basically N. So ampere turn is basically the mmf. Mmf means magnetomotive force, and we having the reluctance in that field, or we can say that circuit. Though if I'm talking about that reluctance, though it means what? It means basically the reluctance means basically the property of magnetic material which opposes the creation of flux, which always opposes the creation of flux. So if I'm opposing the creation of the flux, so it means we are getting what? We are getting basically the reluctance. So mmf by reluctance, we always have a flux. So that flux basically is due to the magnetomotive force. And if I'm talking about the magnetomotive force, so magnetomotive force is due to the ampere turn. So ampere turn, we can say mmf, and magnetomotive force is basically ampere turn. And if I take a ratio of ampere turn to the reluctance, that is S or R, it's basically the flux. So flux we can denote by the phi, and it is just similar to analogous to current I current we have. So it is analogous to that I current. So it is the basically flux, so magnetic flux, and it is denoted by phi, and the unit is Webers. So if I'm talking about the magnetic flux, it is well understood. And if I'm talking about the ampere turn, that is the mmf, magnetomotive force. Now if I'm talking about the flux density. Flux density is basically the ratio of flux to the area. The area unit is meter square and flux is Weber. So we can say Weber per meter square. What we can say? Weber per meter square. So it means if I am talking about the magnetic flux density, so it is always Weber per meter square. We can say how much flux dense in a confined in a area, in confined in which area. So we can say 5 by E. And if I'm talking about the magnetic field intensity, the intensity is basically ampere turn per length. How much the ampere turn I am having in a length. So ampere turn per length. So that is B and H. Then we are having the permeability. Permeability is basically what? Permeability is the measurement of that magnetic material, which basically how much of amount the flux generated or created or invented or basically induce or we can say produce. So I hope you understand about this thing, the magnetic field basics we can say. Then we having the BH curve, that is the curve drawn between density and intensity. So iron are basically the ferromagnetic material, and we can say all metals comes in this category. But plastic and wood are not magnetic materials. And if I'm talking about the iron, then steel, steel sheet, nickel, cobalt, alloy, almost all metal, almost all metal behave like a magnetic and conductor. So we can make electromagnet then. We can make? We use a core made up of that material and wound a coil on it, and if we give supply, though as per Biot we will having the magnetic field. So that is the BH curve shows. So iron and is less than compared to sheet steel, basically the steel, then sheet steel. So we can use for heavy machine, we can use sheet steel, or for lower cost or lower machines, lower we can say rating machine, we can use what? We can use for magnetic core, we can use iron. And there we having the laminations because we want to reduce the losses which we going to study further in this lecture. Now, if I'm talking about the magnetic circuit, the magnetic circuit can be represented by two way, can be classified into two type. We having the series and parallel. If I'm talking about the series, so similar to that series in electrical circuit, the current remains same, but voltage changes. So same here, the flux remains same. And if I'm talking the parallel magnetic circuit, though as analogous to electrical circuit, to an electrical circuit, the magnet basically if I'm talking about parallel, though the flux changes means current changes, but voltage remains same. So similar to that, we having the magnetic circuit are of two type, series and parallel. So in series the flux does not change, but in parallel flux changes. So I hope you understand. Now this all, and then having the laws, for example electromagnetism behaving like laws. So we having first Biot law as we discussed earlier. Then we having the force law. Whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. Then we having the we can say what? The Ampere circuit law. It's the same, similar to that our magnetic field. Then we having the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. If I'm talking about the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, though it means two statements were there. One is whenever there is a change in flux linkage, then there will be an induced EMF, generated EMF, or we can say production of EMF, or we can find induced EMF. If circuit is closed, then the current will flow. That current is known as induced. So that is the first statement. Second statement basically state that the magnitude of induced EMF is always proportional to the flux linkage variation. So we can say E is equals to d phi by dt. And we can write E is equals to n d phi by dt and use minus sign when Lenz's law applying. Lenz's law means it is basically corresponding to the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. In Lenz's law, we can say it always opposes the production of flux, or production of it always opposes the cause of production. How it producing? So always is opposite. It is opposite of that production. That is in the basically first unit. Then we talk about the second unit, that is the electromagnetic force and torque. So if I am talking about the electromagnetic force, my dear student, the electromagnetic force is basically what happens as per the force law. So if I am talking about the as per the force law, then the force law what we having, whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, whenever there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, it experiences a force. That force is basically pushing the one thing. Like for example, there's the thing uh, standing here. If I'm applying force on it, so it moves. It moves like this. So it is moving means displacement and force. So F cross D is basically the representation of torque. It's representation of torque. So torque is there, and torque do what? It start rotating. Rotate the basically we can say rotate the rotating part. So that is the torque. electromagnetic torque, we can say. So we can say force is there, torque is there. Torque is applicable when the current, the field, and the velocity of the charges is basically perpendicular. Then force take place, and if force take place, then torque take place. And force in the parallel case not take place, but in the perpendicular case it take place. So we can assume that how can force attack basically take place. So torque will be applicable. So we having so many examples to understand. We having the voltmeter, ammeter, galvanometer. In that we having the basically permanent magnet, moving coil. We can say a coil is there, and due to attraction it rotate and the pointer moves. Similar to that, I took some examples of relay. So relay having the same thing. Then we having the electromagnetic energy conversion. The electromagnetic energy conversion basically works on the two phenomena: electrical to mechanical, mechanical to electrical. Means we convert electrical to mechanical energy and mechanical to electrical energy. But I need a coupling circuit. I need a coupling circuit in it. So that coupling circuit will be the magnetic field or magnetic circuit that we studied in the unit number 1. So magnetic circuit and magnetic field we need because we want to do the electromagnetic energy conversion. Though I need a coupling circuit, that is your magnetic circuit or magnetic field. So magnetic circuit is required here. So for example, if I'm talking about the DC motor, so DC motor we are giving power, energy, voltage, current, and taking out rotation, revolution, torque, and speed. So electrical to mechanical, we are converting electrical energy into the mechanical energy. So I hope you understand this thing. Similar to that, if I'm talking about the generator, so in generator what happens? In generator we having basically we are applying torque, force, we can say speed, rotation, revolution, whatever mechanical energy, and we are taking output. In the output we are taking power, energy, voltage, and current. So more mechanical to electrical. So in generator we are applying mechanical input, taking electrical output, and in motor we are giving electrical input, taking mechanical output. So the output of the motor will become the input for the generator, and the output of the generator will become input to the motor. So I hope you understand this thing. So that is the electromagnetic energy conversion. We have understood about so many things. And the basic example in the closed loop, we can say motor. Motor is an example. Then in the unit number 3, that is DC machine, basics. Fourth is also DC machine, but fourth we having motoring and generation. But if I'm talking about the DC machine, so in DC machine we have studied two types of machine. One is the motor, another is the generator. So motor and generator both are rotating machines. Transformer is not a rotating machine. So motor and generator basically having same construction but different principles of operation, different direction law. You can say if I'm talking about the motor works on electromagnetic interaction, force law, you can say. And if I'm talking about the generator works on Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. Okay. If I'm talking about the direction of the generator, the direction works on like this. Fleming right hand rule. In this, induced EMF, inner magnetic field, force. Motor having the opposite direction, force, magnetic field, induced EMF. So both having the different directions. So both having the EMF, but in the different side. So generating EMF is known as generator EMF, and motoring EMF is known as back EMF. So if I'm talking about the construction, my dear student, so these are the basic concept. But if I'm talking about the construction, so construction we have basically the first part, that is yoke. Yoke is the main part or important part which gives mechanical support to all the components which we are using for motoring or generating action. So basically it produces the mechanical support to all the components. So it is made up of we can say iron, but for the heavy machine we use steel, and we're having the laminations because to reduce the eddy current loss. So later on we'll discuss on this. Then we're having the field. Field is basically the to generate magnetic field. It is basically the electromagnetic field. So if I'm talking about the electromagnetic field, though I need a core, I need a winding. So for core, we having the pole core. Lamination is there. We having the winding, that is pole winding, field winding, and we having the shoe for the spreading of the flux. We use pole face or pole shoe. Then we having the rotating part known as armature. In the armature, we again having the core, it is of cylindrical structure, mounted on a shaft, that is the iron rod or basically a rod which rotates, which help to rotate. Bearings are there which through which we can rotate easily. So in armature we having the core, we having the slots, and we place winding because we want to carry the current. So windings will be placed in the armature core slots. So armature core is there, slots is there, armature winding is there. Okay, and if I'm talking about the field winding is basically a former wound. Forward wound means I took a former which is in the shape of rectangular, then I place a winding on it. It always take a shape of rectangular, that is known as former wound, and we can place on the field. So if I'm talking about the armature, the armature is a very important part. Why it is very important? Because if magnetic, for example, these are the flux lines like this. So something is there to cut this flux line. So armature helps to cut or vary the flux as per the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction to induce a EMF. So who will carry the EMF? Who will carry the current? So if I place conductor in it, if I place what? If I place conductor in that one means in the armature, we can say the armature slots. That is why it is known as conductors. Means one coil consists of two conductors. So two conductors are there and coil is one. Okay. So one coil carries the two conductors. It is basically placed on like this. It's just armature. We place winding on it like this. Okay. So we are placing a winding. So there are two types of winding. One is lap, another one is field. So lap is basically, we can say, parallel path A is equals to P, number of poles. And if I'm talking about the wave, so in wave we having the A number of parallel path is always equals to the 2, because positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, then negative. We can say like this. So we having two things. If I'm talking about the lap, so lap we having the low current, high current, low voltage. If I'm talking about the wave, high voltage, low current. So that is the thing we need. Then the main important part, that is again we are having commutator. Because if I am applying generator like this section, if I am applying motor like this, now see, generator always, if I am giving the input that is in the form of mechanical prime mover, though always rotating clockwise direction. And if I am giving the input to the motor, it means it is electrical. So though it will always rotate in an anti-clockwise direction. So motor rotate in a clockwise direction. We can say motor rotate in a anti-clockwise direction. Generator rotates in the clockwise direction. So we can say what? For this, C, the current is changing. For C, current is changing. Now current is flowing in a loop, positive, negative, positive, negative. So that is the AC, not DC. So we need a component which convert that AC into DC, that is known as commutator. Commutator basically convert bidirectional current into unidirectional. Converter do what? Converter basically convert, basically commutator is there. We need a converter, that is the name is commutator. Converter we know because we want to convert it. So converter is there, but that converter known as commutator in DC machines. That is the important part. And that commutator converts and create an electric current, though it is flow in the armature winding. So who will carry that current from commutator to the terminal? That is brush. So commutator always follow the process of commutation. Commutation means reversal of current. So if reversal of current not take very easily, not take very efficiently, so what will happen? Spark produce that will burn the brushes. So we want to improve it. We need high resistance. Though instead of using copper in the carbon brushes, we use copper. Basically, the copper, instead of copper we use carbon and graphite. So graphite is very costly, though we use carbon. So carbon brushes having high resistance. Then we having the interpoles we can use to generate the maximum flux. So the reversal of current can take place easily. So we can apply commutation. That is the commutation process. That is what? That is your commutation process. I hope you understand, my dear student. So commutation process is there. Okay. Then we having the brush arrangement. As I earlier told you, bearings are there. Then we are having the armature reaction. Armature reaction is what? Basically, if I'm talking about the armature reaction, though we having the flux of armature also. That armature flux is basically opposes to the field flux. That is the important part, working component. So what happens if it is the working component? Though it basically distort the main field flux field. It produce two effects, demagnetizing and cross magnetizing. So we can reduce these value by using interpoles and copoles, or opoles we can say, and convection compensating windings to compensate. Though we discussed a lot about this thing in my previous series of lecture. Then we having the basically types of machines. So we having types of machines are separately and self. Separately means we having the external source, that is battery. And if I'm talking about the self, though it is work on the residual magnetism. So residual magnetism means remaining magnetism. Though we having three types. Shunt, we connect a field winding parallel to the armature winding, that is known as shunt. We connect series field winding to the armature, that is series winding. We connect both compound. Compound having two types, long shunt and short shunt, cumulative and differential. So these are the types. Okay, if I'm talking about the consider it is same, types are also same, but the direction is always opposite. If current direction in the generator is like this, so in a motor we having like this, opposite. So the equation is, for example, Vt is equals to Eb plus IRA. So we can say Eb minus IRA for the different motor. Motor and generator we having the plus and minus. Okay. Then we basically talked about the EMF equation. Though EMF equation was 5Z and P by 16. We have derived it. And if I'm talking about the equation of EMF that is generated for transformer, but back EMF for the motor. The equation remains same. But for motor we use back EMF, but for generator we use generating EMF. Okay, I hope you understand generating and back EMF both. Okay, then we basically, if I'm talking about the torque is always proportional to the back EMF into the current. So back EMF is useful for motoring action, not for the generator, because generator gives you the electrical output, though we need generator, but it is very helpful for the motoring action. So if I want motoring action, though it is very helpful because torque is proportional to Eb into I, back EMF into the armature current. So it is back EMF required here. So it is useful. Okay, the torque we understand. Then we having basically characteristic. So many characteristic for generator and different characteristic for motor we discussed in the unit number 4. Types we discussed. Okay, we discussed a lot about the testing. Testing means for the for the motor we having different types: Swinburne, back-to-back test, Hopkinson test. We can say direct loading test, indirect loading test, Ward-Linear method. So all these. Ward-Linear comes in the speed control. Though in speed control we having flux control, field control, basically that is known as field control, armature control, and voltage control. We talked a lot about this. In testing, we talked about this. So the remaining part is basically we can say, because if I want to tell you about the testing, then testing the losses name was there. Losses the thing was there, because if you want to identify the efficiency, though I need to know about the losses. So basically the losses are there. So in this lecture what I want to deliver you is about the losses, and this is the last lecture of unit number 4. Later after this we start the unit number 5, that is the last unit. Now moving forward, objectives help the student to understand about the basis of DC machine as generator. Because if we want to why I'm telling you generator here, my dear student, because if I'm talking about the losses, the efficiency, being an electrical engineer or being you are the electrical engineering student, so we always talk about the electrical thing. Though losses are basically the electrical thing, so output of the generator is electrical. Though I am why I am taking the generator here, to understand the working of it. Then we'll talk about the losses and efficiency in DC machine, because generator motor is both having the same constructions but different principle of operation, different direction loss. I hope you understand. So make student familiar with the types of losses and efficiency. These are the objectives of this lecture. Now moving forward, electrical generator. We can say an electric generator. An electric generator is based on the principle that whenever flux is cut by a conductor, whenever flux is cut by a conductor, and EMF is in use. Just your Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, which will cause a current to flow if the current circuit is closed. If a conductor or that circuit is closed, we can see. So we can write E induced is equals to V into B into L. So the direction of induced EMF and hence current is given by Fleming's right hand rule. Fleming's right hand rule. The essential component of a generator are: first is the magnetic flux, group of conductors, that is the armature conductors, and motion of the conductor with respect to magnetic flux, means the we can say flux lines and the armature. So that is the thing. Three things are very important. One is the magnetic flux, phi, conductor or a group of conductors we having motion of conductor with respect to magnetic flux. Now moving forward, Fleming right hand. So it is working like this. Now see what is it saying. If three fingers of a right hand, namely thumb, index finger and middle finger, are outstretched, so that every one of them is at right angles. Now right angle, okay, with remaining two, and if this position index finger is made to point in the direction of flux line. So this showing you the flux line. Thumb in the direction of the relative motion means movement, force. With respect to the flux, then the outstretched middle finger gives the direction of induced EMF, this one in the conductor. We can say like this, if it is rotating like this, so we can like this, movement, motion, magnetic field, or we can say induced EMF. So three things we can assume, we can say in this by the Fleming's right hand rule. See here, the motion, direction of the flux, and induced EMF. So that is the Fleming's right hand rule. The simplest rotating DC machine, how it works basically, see here. We are having 8 positions, start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it rotates like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So at 3 and 7 we are getting the maximum in positive, maximum in the negative. How we are getting, now try to understand. When the loop is in the position number 1, the generated EMF is 0 because the coil sides AB and CD are cutting no flux. They are cutting no flux but are moving parallel to it. But are doing what? Moving parallel to it. We can say in this case no flux will introduce. Okay, no flux will take place. When the loop is in the position number 2, we can say when the loop is in the position number 2, the coil sides are moving at an angle to the flux. The coil sides are moving at an angle to the flux, and therefore a low EMF is generated. Small cutting, low EMF is generated as indicated by point number 2. When the loop is in the position number 3, the coil sides AB and CD are at right angle, perpendicular like this to the flux, and therefore cutting the flux at maximum rate. Maximum flux will cut. Hence, at this instant, the generated EMF is maximum as indicated by point number 3. 3. At position 4, the generated EMF is less because the coil surges are cutting the flux at the angle. We can say the coil surges are cutting at the flux at the angle. At position number 5, no magnetic flux lines are cut and induced EMF is 0. So at 1 and 5 we are having the 0 and as indicated by pointing by point 5. 6 at position 6, the coil sides move under a pole of opposite polarity and hence direction of the generating EMF is reverse, starting from the reverse. The maximum EMF in the direction that is reverse direction will when the loop is at position number 7 and 0 when at position 1. So cycle repeats with each revolution of the coil. Now see here. If it moving with is parallel, no current will be there, but at 2, some flux will cut. 3 is the perpendicular, means, for example, this is the position, though it some flux, but in this position, perpendicular, so maximum. 3, 4 again, we having the remaining. 5 we having in the parallel, no. Then we having the 6 position, it is some value, but at the 7 maximum, then 8 minimum, then 1 again 0. So it's rotate like this and cut like this. I hope you understand. I hope you understand with the respect to this diagram. Okay, now moving forward, this is the thing we discussed. Now total losses in a DC machine. Now my dear student, if I am talking about the total losses in a DC machine, so we categorize into 3 categories. We are having the 3 different types. So first type is the copper loss, second is the iron loss, third is the mechanical losses. If I am talking about the copper loss, so in copper loss, the armature copper loss we have, shunt copper loss we have, series copper loss. Copper loss. Now, my dear student, I earlier told you in this lecture or in the previous lecture of my series lectures, you can say lecture of series of lectures. So I discussed one thing that we having 2 types. You can say separately a DC separate DC source and self residual magnetism. So separately is having any type, but if I am talking about the we can say the self. So in self we having 2 types, shunt and series. So that is why I am telling here the shunt and series copper losses, because copper loss is the denotation of resistance due to the resistance present in a coil, that is known as heat loss, or we can say the power loss, that is I square R. So I square R loss is there, that is the heat loss. That is denoted for the armature, always we having armature copper loss. Then we having the shunt if we having the shunt winding, and series if we having the series winding. So we having the shunt and series both. So shunt copper loss is there and series copper loss is there. Okay. In a compound we having again long shunt, short shunt, so we having these 2 losses again. Secondly, second name is iron losses. So iron loss having 2 losses, one is hysteresis, another one is the addiction. So iron loss are basically also known as magnetic loss, also known as core loss. So don't get confused in the copper loss and core loss. Copper loss is due to the resistance of the winding. Core loss they take place in the core. So that is why it is core. In the small machine, it is made up of iron to iron losses, and these are the losses of magnetic field to magnetic losses we have. So there are two types: hysteresis and eddy current. Hysteresis and eddy current. If I'm talking about the third and final loss, that is mechanical losses. Then mechanical losses, we having two things: friction and windage. We having two things: friction and windage. So friction is there and windage loss is there. Now moving forward, total losses in a DC machine. If I'm talking about the copper loss, iron loss, and mechanical losses, I'm taking one first point, that is copper loss here. Copper loss is basically, we can say, due to the resistance in a winding. And how it take place? Copper loss are mainly due to the current passing through the winding. If current is passing through the winding, my dear student, so what will happen? I and R. So I square R. So armature copper loss is the 30 to 40% of full load losses. So if I'm assuming that 100% losses, full load loss, for example, we can say 32 what I am getting the full load loss, though 40% of it, we can say the 30%, or we can say the 40% of it will be the we can say the full copper loss. So 30% of it we're giving it 10 or something, 12 we are getting. So we are getting the 30 to 40% of full load. Shunt field copper loss. If I'm talking about the shunt field, though the field winding is connected in the shunt, or you can say parallel, though it is known as shunt field copper loss. So it is obviously 20 to 30% of full load loss. 20 to 30% of full load losses. Third and final loss we can say in the copper, that is series field copper loss. What is it? Series field copper loss. It doesn't have any percentage, because in series we directly connect the field winding series with the armature winding. Series winding is connected with the armature winding. So if I am connecting in the series, though we can say there will be we are not assuming no losses in it. So armature copper loss always represented is like Ia square Re. Ia is the armature current and Ra is the armature resistance. So Ra is the armature resistance and Ia is the armature current, and losses due to brush contact resistance is usually included in the armature copper loss. So if I am talking about the brush copper losses, is always we can say the brush losses always count in a armature copper losses, because brush losses we also have. Okay. Now the shunt field copper losses is given by ISS square RSH. RSH is the shunt field resistance and ISS is the shunt field current. ISH is what? ISH is basically the shunt field current. So I hope you understand. Then if we talk about the series field copper loss, so series field copper loss is denoted like ISE square RSC. RSC is the we can say the resistance of series field, and ISE is the series field current. IAC is what? IAC is the series field current and RAC is the series field resistance. So copper loss are of three categories, categorized in the three categories. One is the armature copper loss, that is always having the higher end, 30 to 40% of full load. Shunt copper loss, if shunt is there, that will be the 20 to 30%. And series field copper loss is basically no percentage. Why is it so? Because we connect field winding in series with the copper, the armature winding. Yes. And if I'm talking about the armature copper loss, though armature copper loss is basically the having higher value, that is the 10 to 40% due to the armature resistance and armature current, and this includes the brush losses also, brush contact resistance. Shunt field copper loss, ISH RSS, so ISS square RSS, series field, ISC square RSC. Now moving forward, these are the very important plus the losses we have, magnetic losses. Though we always find these two losses, means iron and copper, always we find in the transformer also and in the machines. But mechanical losses we doesn't find in the transformer, because no mechanical movement in the transformer, no movement or no rotation we'll find in the transformer. So we can't say these losses we'll find, that is mechanical losses. But if I'm talking about the copper loss and the core loss, we always find in a transformer also, in AC machine also, my dear student, not in DC. It is not limited to DC machines. It is in the AC machines also. So in the next semester, we can say the next subject, that is electrical machine 2, we are going to understand in this that machine. We are going to understand about the, we are going to learn about the AC machines. So similar losses we have. Now what is hysteresis loss? This loss is due to the reversal of magnetism of the armature core. South, north, north, south. We can say reversal of magnetization of the armature core. Now armature core is moving like this. It is north pole, it is moving like this. That it is south pole, it is moving like this. So it is opposite, it is moving. So we can say every portion of rotating core passes under N and S poles, means North Pole and the South Poles alternatively, we can say, thereby attaining South and North polarity respectively. The core undergoes under one complete cycle of magnetic reversal. One complete cycle of just like this. This is and this is magnetic reversal. After passing under one pair of poles, north and south. So we having north and south, so it's moving like this, one opposite reversal like this, like this. Okay, so we having every portion of rotating core passes under north and south pole alternately, thereby attaining the south and north polarity respectively. The core undergoes one complete cycle of magnetic reversal after passing under one pair of poles. After passing under one pair of poles, we can say. Now, where P is the number of poles, N is the armature speed in RPM. Frequency of magnetic reversal we can calculate with the help of number of we can say speed into number of poles divided by 120. So double frequency per pole we can identify this thing. Okay. So I hope you understand, my dear student, this thing. That is which type of loss? The hysteresis loss. Then we having the losses depend upon the volume and the B maximum, that is maximum flux density, and the frequency of reversals. Hysteresis loss is given by Stevens formula. That is given by Stevens formula, where WH is equals to neta V 1.4, 1.6 maximum F V watts, because it is a power loss, so it is Thomson watts. So V is the volume of the core in meter cube, and N is the cement's hysteresis constant, and F is the frequency, V is the volume of the core, and B is the maximum flux density. You can see here. Now, if I'm talking about the eddy current loss, now, my dear student, if I'm talking about the eddy current loss, so in eddy current loss, we having when the armature core rotates. For example, armature core rotates like this. Okay, so it cuts the magnetic fields. The magnetic flux we are finding, so it cutting the magnetic flux like this. Hence, an EMF induced in the body of the core, as per the Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. What will happen? For example, it cuts the flux. So, on the body of the core, which is rotating according to Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction, we'll find induced EMF. EMF, that is known as induced EMF. Through small setup large current in the body of the core due to its small resistance. What will happen? This EMF, small value of EMF, set up the large current. Set up the large current. Why is set up the large current? Due to small resistance. The core having the small resistance and it is closed. So what happens? Small EMF will give the high current. That current or this current is known as eddy current. This current is known as eddy current. Okay. So these core laminations are insulated from each other by a thin coating of varnish. So we can make lamination. Why we use laminations? To reduce this loss, means eddy current loss. Okay, and if I want to reduce the hysteresis loss, the proper cross section we have to take in, and silicon contained steel to improve the magnetic field intensity, just similar to your BH curve. The hysteresis word came from the BH curve, the reversal of magnetization or reversal of magnetic field. We can find like this: if it is moved, for example, conducting, then knee point, then the magnetization, then saturation, and after the saturation if we apply coverage, then reversal of magnetism. So we can improve this thing by using silicon contained steel. So in this eddy current loss, we we use what? These current laminations are insulated from each other by thin coating of varnish. We use thin coating of varnish. Due to the core body being one continuous solid iron piece, figure seen A, the magnitude of eddy current is very large. As armature cross section area is large, small resistance is small. Rho L by A, opposite to, or we can say inversely proportional to the area. Resistance is always inversely proportional to the area. Hence, eddy current loss is large. In figure B, same core has been split up into three thin cross section, has very high resistance. Hence, magnitude of eddy current is reduced considerably, whereby reducing eddy current. Now, see what I am showing here. If I am using a solid iron piece, the current value magnitude is very high because resistance is very small, close is there. If I am using a laminations, so laminations are the parallel path. Though resistance are increasing, so if resistance are increasing, though means current is reducing. So in this case, small eddy current will be there. So we can improve the efficiency by reducing the eddy current loss by using laminations of thin laminations, using the varnish between that laminations. I hope you understand this thing. So we can do this thing. Okay, splitting by using the lamination. It is not splitting here, but here it is splitting. Now the value we can found, that is K V square maximum F square T square V square watts, where V maximum is the flux density, maximum flux densities, F is the frequency of the magnetic reversal, we can say, V is the volume of the armature core, T is the thickness of lamination we produce. So lamination is necessary. So V is always proportional to T square, hence T should be kept as small as possible. Because if thickness is higher, it will produce more thickness, means small thickness will be there. Because next thickness is higher, then the magnetic this loss We is be higher. So thickness will be lesser because it's a square proportion. Okay, so 2 is the thickness, so we having the eddy current 4. 4 is the thickness, we are getting 16. So we have to look into the matter. So eddy current is loss is reduced by laminated core, but hysteresis loss cannot be reduced by this way. Use silicon content. Now moving forward. Now we can say 30 to 40%, 20 to 30%. Then we'll be having the 10 to 20%. That is the friction losses. What are they basically? What we having? The friction losses and the windage loss. Friction loss is due to the bearings. We basically use bearings. So in the bearings or the brushes we having, but brushes we already count in the what? Count in the we can say armature copper loss. So here we are having the friction loss because we are having the bearings, and in that bearing we have the we can say shaft, so it rotates. So if it is rotating, though we can say there will be some friction, so friction loss will be there. Friction loss will be there, and windage loss is basically the whole word we can say convert. If I am dividing it, the wind plus H, wind addition with the H. So wind is there, air pressure is there, and we are having the H. So windage loss due to the air gap between armature and pole shoe. Windage loss is due to what? The we can say the due to air gap between armature and pole shoe. Armature is there and pole shoe like this gap. It is a pole and gap. So windage. So it is moving. So it giving the high pressures friction. So it giving the wind plus H, windage loss. I hope you understand. Now magnetic losses and mechanical losses are collectively known as stray losses. Magnetic losses and we can say the mechanical losses are collectively known as stray losses. Losses are classified into two types: constant losses, that is standing losses WC. Field copper loss is constant. For shunt and compound generator are constant losses. So stray losses plus shunt copper losses are combinedly called constant losses. You can say WC. Okay. Now, if I'm talking about the variable losses, so the losses which varies with the load called variable losses. Which varies with the load called variable losses. So we can say armature copper loss is known as variable losses because how much the armature rotates, then it cut, then the loss will be there. So we can say variable losses. So armature copper loss is variable. In series generator, the series field copper loss is also variable loss. IL is equal to IAC is equal to I armature. But in shunt, we having IA is equal to IL plus ISH. So it is different. So total losses armature copper loss plus WC. We can say the constant losses. So the total losses are the variable losses plus constant losses. So we can write IA square RA armature copper loss plus constant losses, that is WC. So I plus ISH square RA plus WC. We having the total losses is equals to variable losses plus constant losses. I hope you understand. Now moving forward, the power flow diagram in a generator. We can say mechanical power, stray losses, mechanical losses, pole losses. Now it is converted into the torque and speed, converted into the electrical. That is EIA. Then again copper losses, and we having the P out. That is the P convention, basically conversion loss. Here, mechanical then electrical output with having the losses. So that is the power flow diagram of DC shunt motor. I hope you understand. Now moving forward, basically for DC motor. Here I am giving the input, that is electrical. So starting we having the copper loss I square R, then we having the conversion. Then we having the magnetic field core loss, mechanical losses, stray losses. Then in the output I am getting the torque and speed, means mechanical power. So input I am giving electrical, but in output I am getting the mechanical, that is electromechanical conversion. But we can see in this we are finding what? We are having the one thing that is known as what? That is known as basically the mechanical power in the output, but electrical in the input, but we are having the losses. In this we have we found so many losses in it. I hope you understand. Okay, now moving forward, these are the power stages. we can say how we deal with the efficiency. So various power stages in the case of generator are shown below. Mechanical input, I am giving iron friction losses. We have electrical power developed in the armature, that is Eg into Ia, generating EMF current. Then we having the copper losses. Then we having the electrical power output. So we can derive the generator efficiency, that is total watt generated in the armature oblique upon mechanical power supplied, what's available in the load circuit upon total power generated. So we can say mechanical efficiency, electrical efficiency. So overall efficiency, the mechanical is the input and the electrical is the output. So output upon input. So we can say the electrical efficiency divided by the mechanical efficiency. So we can write C by A, because B to B is cancelled out. So we can write what? PI upon Eg into I, can say. Okay, so we can say right like this. So the overall efficiency is Nc is equals to Nm into Ne. For good conductors, it will be the 95%. So efficiency should be higher. We are getting now related to this topic. We having some, we can say, the multiple choice questions, because we covered losses and efficiency. So in motor we can say output upon input, the output is the mechanical, input is electrical. Okay. Now the iron losses are considered to be the constant losses. It depends on voltage, frequency, both A and B, none of these. So A and B, voltage and frequency both. Copper losses in a rotating machine is variable loss, constant loss, either A or B, none of these, variable losses. Stray losses are the losses which vary with the load, but their relationship with load current cannot be identified. Stray loss is maximum in which synchronous machine, DC machine, so obviously DC machine is there. The brush contact loss in a DC machine is directly proportional to the current. The electrical power output in DC generator is equal to mechanical power input, iron friction loss, and copper losses. We have already studied from here. See, now this is the answer. Then we having out of electrical, mechanical, and magnetic losses, the losses which is the minimum is all are equal: electrical losses, magnetic losses, and mechanical losses. So obviously, I told you earlier, 10 to 20% that is mechanical losses. I hope you understand. Then the hysteresis motor are mainly used in tape recorder because out of its extremely steady torque. The types of generator are, we already discussed: separate, self, both A and B, none of them. Both A and B, separate and self. In self, we having three types: series, shunt, and compound. In compound, we having two types: long shunt and short shunt. And if I'm talking more, then we having cumulative and differential. Now, DC generator works on the principle of Lenz law, Ohm's law, Faraday law of electromagnetic induction, and none of them. We can say which law? Faraday law of an electromagnetic induction. I hope you understand, my dear student. Now, option is C. Now, the references through which I took some material, that is A. Phil Gerard, Stephen G. Chapman, R. K. Srivastava. So we can say these three books are very good books and having a good content, in which two books are of international author, and these books are available in our library. So you can just go through it, you can read it, you will find the good content here. Okay, so this is all about from my side. Thank you for listening, my dear student. Thank you for patience listening. I hope you understand about the types of losses and efficiency, because today this is the last lecture of the unit number 4, and from tomorrow onwards, on the later on, we can say we'll start the unit number 5, that is the transformer. So I hope you understand better this about this thing. So thank you from my side, student. Thank you for listening.